16 years ago, when I was 30 years old, I was visiting some friends in Eddington Birtle. I picked this stone from a Scottish collection there and handed it to a teenage boy and asked him how it was formed. "It was formed in the sea like this," he said. I replied, "I reckon someone made that stone." Here's the closest thing that I've managed to find on a beach since. A week later, I was there again. The boy said, "I've got some stones for you." "Where did you get that?" "I found it in a wall that had collapsed." This is Long Ashton Church. It sits on a site once occupied by a lay marker, such as a henge or a standing stone, dating back to the New Stone Age, 4 to 4,500 years ago. It formed part of a surveyed alignment of around 30 miles. This medieval quarried stone's face has a loose composition. After 300 years, the gravestones have eroded back by a few millimetres or are degrading or breaking up. The decorative stonework that is in good condition is Victorian restoration. It's basically the same for all the medieval churches around here, whatever the stone type. Here's a dated stone, quarried with explosive. I came across this stone circle, or square, near Emerson's Green around 10 years ago and wondered if it was old or new. Oh dear, this material is not up to the job of lasting thousands of years. This stone has recently crumbled. These are the 3 Shire stones near Cologne. If it was prehistoric, it would be more famous. It is over 150 years old. There's steps to help you sit on the top. It's a reproduction of this sort of thing, isn't it? Let's take a look. I think the designer has got the material wrong. Inside, it's like rising damp. This is Lanhill Long Barrow. Its construction dates to around 3000 BC, predating the New Stone Age. One of its chambers has been reconstructed with new stone added. Even when protected by earth, this local stone erodes and crumbles. The ley line from Long Ashton that crosses Bristol terminates at a T-junction at Lugbury Long Barrow. This dilapidated burial chamber predates the creation of the ley line. The local stone from the ploughed field is weak, and the tomb chambers seem to be made from this. Here is some in a nearby wall. A ley marker was created later by adding these 3 bright white stones. They are very solid and unique. This wall in Bitton could be 300 years old and is typical of local white stone. This cross is in remarkable condition for its age. It's delicate and exposed. Its base seems like the same material, yet the erosion on it is much greater. In comparison, the cross erosion is around 4 times less. The cross in Bridgewater has been replaced twice. They should have used some stone that erodes much slower, though by 1480 it doesn't seem to have been available. Here's a model of a clapper bridge in Mendip stone. To build and maintain it, you need a lot of labour and the ability to move and produce large blocks. As time goes on, future generations will need to replace worn and broken stones and reconstruct it as the pieces get smaller. If this bridge gets washed away, parts will get broken and chipped, and it might not fit back together exactly. To build this bridge takes a few craftsmen, but damage from hobnail boots, hoofs, wheels and accidents can be rectified by resurfacing and replacing and cementing. I spent the afternoon in a small area of Exmoor. Winsford. Here's some local stone in a wall. The church. Normal erosion. This stone looks good. This font has wear from people rubbing against it. Here's some boulders, pulled out of the river. Hawkeridge Church. Gravestones, same as ever. Here's a cross. Here's a pile of local stone. Weak. Same sort of thing everywhere, and it's not even winter yet when the real erosion occurs. This stone has traces of some once bold lettering. It dates from the time of magic swords, and knew it would have been the best quality piece of stone we have seen around here so far. It is now eroding and degrading badly. This is recent delamination. Its letters seem bolder on its Wikipedia picture. It needs this building as a collision with a cyclist or an excited pony is likely to break it. This stone circle is hard to find. Its stones are very small, but are of a very hard stone that is stable, although this one stone is partly degrading to dust inside. I have only seen this happen on stones that have been exposed for a very long time. Prehistoric man didn't dig quarries, so he took ready exposed stone. All the other stone I found on Withypool Hill is poor, and it won't erode down to become like the stone in the circle after thousands of years. This small circle of tiny stones and the lack of any alignments tell us there was a lack of activity and population here in the Stone Age. Close by, this later, more impressive barrow helps us to put a date on this next structure's construction. Tar Steps. Legend has it that the devil built this bridge, but a team in the Bronze Age is more likely. It's twice as old as the Caractacus stone. It was not replaced by medieval and more recent masons, who were not skilled with huge slabs, and would not have undertook lots of maintenance such as reconstruction and replacement parts. When it gets washed away, the pieces don't break, and it still matches its engineering drawings from 1950 and before. The devil didn't build this bridge, but he seems to have sourced the stones. A few steps from the bridge, there seems to be a spare slab. If they had used this one for the Caractacus stone, I reckon it would still look brand new. This piece looks like bridge material, but underneath the bedrock is poor. I found this bit broken off one of these stones. Stonehenge, a lowercase c in a circle. This is the heel stone. It stands next to the circle. If this is the same material as that, then this is upside down.
Stupid!
Well, Stonehenge has suffered hundreds of years of archaeologists hacking bits off, and they didn't mostly climb up to do it. Let's assess the bits that have been carved and worked 4,500 years ago. The mortise and tenon joints are near perfect. In places, the original tool markings can be seen. But all rock arose, doesn't it? That's what geologists say. Tool markings should have long gone. It's really windy on Salisbury Plain. If Stonehenge was made of polished marble, what some people tell me is the hardest stone, it would be a pile of bits by now. The parts of Stonehenge that should have suffered the most from weathering are the lintels and the bits where they meet the uprights. As most of the known erosion on Stonehenge in the last 4,500 years is very low or negligible, then the chip bottom teeth look was there originally, and Stonehenge was never all perfect looking rectangular blocks. The perfect looking dolmen was worked down from oversized pieces by an enthusiastic team. It's no coincidence that the designer was lucky not to have used the heel stone with the others in the circle. He either knew it was going to erode badly, or if the heel stone is the same material as Stonehenge, then it must have been standing for over 100,000 years before it was brought here. The Stonehenge material is very rare. This is all there is, so it's likely the missing 3 uprights were made of something that has not survived, like wood. Stonehenge was designed for its meaning to be lost. New Stone Age man having a greater understanding of conceptual art and his place in time. Due to his lack of technology, greater spiritual understanding and utopian society. The best preservation of Stonehenge stones should be on the bits that are buried under the soil. Looking at these should be able to determine whether the stones were cut apart, previously standing, or even stacked. These stones all look like exactly the same material. The king stands alone. He was not very pious, and he took mistresses. The distance he stands from the others represents the severity of his punishment in death. The queen stands with her back to him, equal with her subjects in the circle. The angle that her back is turned from the king represents her amount of forgiveness. Most of the stones have pitting, most commonly on the vertical faces, which means the material erodes strongest on the faces that point directly up. There seems to be no layering or seams. This stone is upside down.
Stupid!
The problem for me is, in the antiquarian age, a third of these stones were stood up, having been recumbent for a long time, and I can't find out exactly which ones. This stone has erosion everywhere, apart from the front face, which is pretty smooth. If it wasn't stood up recently, then it is a gauge of how much the stones have eroded since the Stone Age. This face could have been worked flat or even a recumbent previous to the Stone Age, having fallen over 100,000 years ago. These two stones, now recumbent, could have been lying for thousands of years, but have not eroded on the vertical faces. A local church at Chastleton has a similar looking sort of stone. The gravestones are eroding back as normal. I've never read an outside Tudor one anywhere. Some stones on the wall are starting to crumble. There's no real pitting yet. Close to Chastleton are some field boulders, identified by some as the source of the rollright stones. These look like the same material, but have pitting most commonly on the sides and not on the top, and they are breaking up. This is the best one. There's a broken surface, serious erosion with the inside degrading. The sides of the stone are also weak and crumbly. Delamination has also recently happened on the most similar stone in the rollright circle, but the inside is solid and there are no weak sides. This boulder has been leant against another and broken clean. Overall, the best field boulder is worse than the worst rollright stone, and I wouldn't risk standing any of them up. All this stone is now suffering from acid rain. This is West Kennet Long Barrow. It is made from very hard sarsen and limestone. I have always had trouble telling different stone types apart. There is a large variation in each type and a crossover. Its robust chambers predate the stone circles and are made of local and non-local boulders. Inside is a bit like a cave. The now exposed lintel has a progressive crack and it is being helped to stay together. Looking from the east, the stones on the left are eroding and pieces of breakages and crumbling can be found in the crevices. Of the stones on the right, this one, which has a flat face for some reason, is cracked right through. The end stone has a progressive crack. There are broken and loose pieces in the cracks. They are not even fully exposed. The megaliths in the middle are a later addition. They show no evidence of recent erosion or fatigue, despite their size. Can a hole like this form in 4,000 years? Yes, but it will be short-lived, and you might expect the whole stone to be. Put back outside, some of these stones will become this in a few months. Others will be good for thousands of years. Spooky. These are good solid rocks. On a late winter visit, I found evidence of recent erosion on around half of the boulders that I quickly examined. Pieces of gravel in the crevices and pools. Local traffic and parking control rocks are of inferior quality. These recently placed boulders are eroding faster than the ancient field boulders. Quarried stone has no natural selection, but it doesn't suffer weakness and degradation due to extreme exposure time. It suffers from unnatural selection and extraction. The gravestones of Avebury Church mostly retain their shape, but erode back as normal. This is a medieval doorway. These megaliths are impressive and surreal. Meet me. The material varies from megalith to megalith. But all the field boulders are the same material. This gatepost has a spot where delamination has recently occurred, taking the lichen with it. I conducted 3 scratch tests. On this piece, which has been cemented on or back on to a megalith. This megalith, on which I made less of a mark, even though I still scratched it for ages. When I returned after 20 minutes, I couldn't find these marks. It was like it had healed over like skin. This wall is made of very hard stone. I scratched off a piece of lichen, and a few grains of stone came away with it. Quite a lot of dust was created, although most of it was my fingernail. What looks like cracks on some megaliths don't go anywhere. They also look like joins that the material has eroded back to. The stress on these megaliths must be enormous. Many cracks should have progressed, and stones should have split. This looks like pieces that have been stuck together like plasticine. This crack, or join, stops and starts again. The megaliths do all the things that rock does. Here's a piece of gravel in a boulder, and in a megalith. Here's some pitting. But it's just different. This rock pitting is a sign of weakness. Here's a tunnel to a cave. All sorts of strange features. These marks, whatever they are, should erode off and not on. I checked over the megaliths of the avenue and circle on 2 visits, one of them in late winter, and I found no evidence of recent erosion. No dust or crumbs in any crevices or pools, no loose pieces trapped in a crack, no delamination or bald spots. These megaliths are like Stonehenge. The erosion on them is very slow, and they have hardly eroded at all since the Stone Age. This erosion is over 100,000 years old, and these stones have been standing that long. Four and a half thousand years ago, it was decided to move all these sacred stones. This gatepost is made of an erodible looking very hard stone, more glass-like than marble. It looks like a superior material than everything we have seen so far. There are a lot of seams of rock, but all of them have flaws, weaknesses or rarity which prevents them from being a reliable material for huge megaliths. There are a lot of megaliths missing. Here we have some small fossils. I am yet to find one of these in situ. I don't tend to find normal things. I'll leave the hitting stones with hammers to geologists. Hang on, what's this? This isn't a real one. Someone has made an impression using a stick when it was wet or soft. The material is like Stonehenge sarsen. I date this art to 125,000 BC, a warm period before the last ice age. This is Carew Cross. Some say it's limestone. As I approached, it looked Victorian, but as the pattern came into focus, it became 1,000 years old. There is erosion at its base which suggests it may have been carved from a standing stone. This cross is now accompanied by a statement. This is conceptual art. Next time on The Archaeologist, these aren't just any old rocks. These are blue stones, lovingly sourced from Wales. Hey, Owen, where's those stones too?